Kisyuk Withnam. Kisyuk Kyukyet. Kisyuk Kwakwayet. Kapinishkis. Today, I want to talk about morning rituals and more say of a morning routine. And I wasn't always this type of person to have a morning routine, actually. I think it was at the very beginning of this whole pandemic where I needed to keep my mental health in check. And I started to do little things. And I've noticed over even just the past few months how my morning rituals have really transformed my whole life. And it's pretty crazy, right? Because there's so many people out there that are stressed. They have anxiety. Depression is on the rise. And with everything that's going on in the world today, it's kind of hard to believe that, people's mental health aren't strong, it is hard to believe that because most people, when they wake up, what do? They grab their phone. I've been guilty of it before. I know you're guilty of it. And you open your phone up and you start to scroll through social media. And they say for the first 10 to 20 minutes of you waking up in the morning, your brain is still in a state. It's I believe it's your delta state. It's one of the states where you're very vulnerable. It's like when you're a little child, you go through that state of growing. And that's the state you're in, is you're in a growing state. I might get that wrong though. It might be not a delta or it might be a theta state. But anyways, your mind is very vulnerable. It's very precious. The very first thing, the very first half an hour of awakening, it's vulnerable. And people will grab their phones and go straight to scrolling through social media and are turning on the news, which is even worse. If I were to say anything, I would rather have people scroll through social media than turn on the news. But when we open up social media, we start to compare our lives to others. We start to, there's the news on social media, there's fear mongering, there's different views, different opinions on what's going on. And if you don't protect your own peace, protect your own mental health, you're allowing those opinions of others to create your reality. I did a story time talking about this on my morning routine. And myself, what I like to do, there's lots of people who do other things, but this has just worked for myself, and it may work for you. And if it does, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Just try something else. There's other ways of doing things, but this is what's worked for myself. So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I always do is I smile and I give thanks and I give gratitude for waking up. Even if I'm waking up, some of you see me wake up at 2:05. Well, you don't see me wake up, but I wake up at 2:05 in the morning and I get up to go work out, and that's before I go to work. And the first thing I do, even if I'm tired, I always smile and I say thank you. I say thank you Nupika, because in my Tunacha language, Nupika means creator. So I say thank you Nupika for giving me this opportunity to live life another day. And I just I focus on that for 10 to 15 seconds and I smile, because they say that 150,000 people didn't wake up today. That's pretty crazy when you think about it, right? 150,000 people. That's over 1 million people each year. That's almost close to 300, or not 300, 3 million people a year. And that just goes to show how precious just waking up in the morning and being grateful can transform your morning, transform your life. Gratitude will transform your life. And after I say thank you and I smile, I get up and I do grab my phone. But what I do is I open up YouTube or podcasts, like what you're listening to right now. And I look for something. Well, I don't even have to look anymore because my algorithm is just full of it. I click on something positive, something motivational, whatever it is. I just click on it and I grab a glass of water, just like this, Kangen water, and I drink it. Because your body needs water. Everything in your body needs water. It helps lubricate your joints. It helps lubricate your intestines. It gets everything going. It's kind of another way of your body saying, oh, it's time to wake up. It's time to get going, Your water can do so many things that people don't realize. Like even sleeping better. You get deeper sleeps when you're properly hydrated. And that's why I preach Kangen water. I drink this stuff like it's, like it's going out of style, I guess. And as an Indigenous person, we understand that water is life. Without water, we would die. We would die. The world would die. Animals would die. Without water, we are nothing. So I always drink a glass of room temperature water. And the reason why I drink room temperature water is because think of our body as a furnace. So if you're drinking cold water and first thing in the morning, when your body's just trying to wake up, it has to kick in. Like that furnace, when you kick in and you want to get hot water going, if there's no hot water in the tank, just say you have one of those instant hot water tanks. It has to kick in, and it takes some time for that water to warm up. Well, that's the same thing with your body. Our bodies have to warm the water up if it's not already room temperature, and it has to use energy to warm that water up, which you don't want to do first thing in the morning. So I usually, myself, what I like to do is out on my counter, I will just leave some water that I poured out from the night, or I got from my Kangen water machine from the night before. So it's sitting there on the counter. It's nice and room temperature. It's good to go. And I'll slam back that. And the first thing I'll have is a magnesium pill, a supplement. And they say nowadays most people lack that mineral of magnesium because our soil is very, very poor now. The soil quality is poor through just GMOs and all this pesticides and everything, that it's weakened our soil. And that's actually how we got a lot of our nutrients, was through the soil, which is pretty crazy, right? You think that you wouldn't, but yeah, the soil does play a massive effect on human beings now. So I take some magnesium. And if you feel like you're lacking energy throughout the day, you might be magnesium deficient. And a lot of people are, I suggest you talk to your doctor about this, about taking magnesium and what would be a good, dose and what would be good for you. Magnesium has really helped me though. So I drink my Kangen water. I take some magnesium. And then if I'm at home, I'll smudge. That's another form of praying and showing gratitude. While I'm listening to my motivational stuff, All this stuff is playing in the background as I'm going, because my subconscious mind will start to pick up on these things. And that's what you really want to retrain, is your subconscious mind. It's very easy to change your conscious mind, but there's studies that have proven that your subconscious mind takes time to reprogram. And as I'm playing these things in the background, I'm listening, and it's training my subconscious mind because it's very vulnerable. So what I'm feeding it in the morning is eventually what I'm going to see throughout my day and throughout my journey. So I listen to something motivational, and then after that, I brush my hair. And I try to be mindful when I'm doing all these things. I try to live in the moment. I'm trying to focus on just brushing my hair and being there. And as I braid, as I braid my hair, being indigenous, we're taught to pray and say thank you for things. So that's another form of, reassuring my gratitude. You notice how I keep coming back to gratitude with everything. And these are indigenous teachings, they've been around for centuries. So I give thanks for things in my head. I don't have to say them out loud. I just say them in my head. And I just say thank you for things, Thank you for that water that I just drank. Thank you for the clean drinking water that I was able to go to my sink and get. Because there's people out there right now that can't do that. They don't have that luxury of going to their sink and turning it on and drinking that water. Especially in many indigenous communities here on Turtle Island. I give thanks for that. I give thanks for life. I give thanks for whatever, right? Whatever I'm thinking in the morning. And then it kind of varies some days. I will go, I usually get ready, get dressed as I'm doing all this stuff. And then most mornings, I'll go to the gym and I work out. And what you do when you're working out, you're actually priming your mind for success. It's pretty crazy, And there's actually studies with Alzheimer's that if you work out and you're prone to getting Alzheimer's, if it runs in your family, in your genetics, you will actually delay that effect of Alzheimer's because your mind is actually growing, which is pretty crazy. I thought, you can offset Alzheimer's like up to 10 to 15 years just by working out. That's another fact, that working out is really good for your mental health and good for your health as well. So I'll work out and then I'll eat. And then usually after I'm done eating, I will do 15 minutes of yoga, of stretching, because that helps digest my food, right? And it's also setting me up for the next thing I do. And when I first started to stretch, I didn't know anything about stretching. So I would just follow YouTube. I would just I would YouTube morning yoga routines, morning stretching routines. And I did that for almost 10 months straight, just watching these videos as I stretch, right? And now that I've been doing it for a while, I know my body more. I'm more in tune with my body. And I kind of follow a routine, but I switch it up. I don't like to I do the same stretches, but I won't do it the same way every time. And there's a reason why I do that. Is because, our minds like to take the easiest route. It's the subconscious mind. It likes to take that easiest, simple route. And I like to trick my subconscious mind. I like to keep myself more mindful, right, in the present moment. So when you switch things up like that, when you switch up your routine with your yoga, your stretching, even your workouts or whatever, right? Even the way you drive to work, if you can take different routes to work, I suggest that you take different routes to work and home from work, because that doesn't allow you to go into your subconscious mind to be a robot. If you've ever been driving before, well, if you ever driven or whatever, right, you've done an activity that you've done repeatedly, your body, your mind, goes on autoplay. And you've been driving and all of a sudden you don't reoccur the last 5 to 10 minutes. You snap out of it and you're like, whoa, what happened? I don't remember those last 10 minutes. Well, that's because your subconscious mind took over. And if you trick your mind and you take different routes, you have to stay in your frontal, the frontal part of your brain, your conscious brain, and you don't go into your subconscious brain. That's another way of practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is really important for the mental health because it allows you to focus on the present. It doesn't allow us to focus on the past or the future, to worry about the future or hold on to the past. It allows us just to be present in this very moment. And when you set your mind up in the morning with this gratitude, with your stretching, with your meditation, with drinking water, it all plays an effect later down the road. And it will start to help with your anxiety. It will start to help with your depression. It'll start to help with your mental health just by priming your mind. Think of your mind as a motor, a 2-stroke engine motor, right? And if any of you ever used a 2-stroke, you have to actually prime it with oil before you use it, right? Because all the cylinders have not been primed. There's no oil in it. So you got to prime that engine before you do it. With the usually there's a little pump you got to press that'll prime that engine with a little bit of, just primes a little bit. And that's what we're doing with our morning routines. And you don't have to do the exact same thing that I'm doing. There's another good way you can do it is you can listen to music that's going to make you feel good, that's going to make you want to dance, that makes you feel happy, and you can do that as well. You don't have to stretch for 15 minutes. You don't have to meditate for 15 minutes. You just mix it up and make it your own flavor. But what I like to do in my mornings is gratitude for sure. I guarantee that if you start adding gratitude just by even smiling first thing in the morning and giving thanks for that, that'll play a massive role in your morning. Oh yeah, and I do brush my teeth also, and I floss my teeth every morning, so I don't have stinky breath. Being at the gym, with stinky breath, and yeah, even though we're all wearing masks right now, I wouldn't like, you have a mask on, so you have to smell your own breath, and I don't want to smell my stinky breath all morning, especially if I'm trying to get a good workout in. But you need to start to prime your morning for success. And success is waking up and being happy at where you're at in life. Being grateful for where you're at in life, because we all were gifted another day in life. And, from teachings, from being indigenous, some people may not know this, but, when we used to live in teepees, because where I come from, we did live in teepees. Not everyone lives in teepees also. It varies from tribe to tribe on who would live in teepees. But, Tunaja people, we lived in teepees because we were never in one location. We would travel around for food, We were seasonal people, We were nomads. We understood that if we sat in one spot too long, we would use up those resources. And then next year, we wouldn't have those resources. So we would take what we needed and then traveled on to the next spot and then used what we needed, so we weren't overusing those things. But with the teepee, we would face that teepee east. And there's a reason why that we faced that teepee east, is because when we opened those doors, we were facing that sun. We would give thanks for that sun, that sunrise. We would give thanks for being blessed another day, for us to see that sun. And that was a way of gratitude, See how I come back to gratitude. And there's many teachings through indigenous peoples on gratitude. So I challenge you for the next 3 weeks to put on something motivational, uplifting, stretch a little bit, 5 to 10 minutes, drink some water before you drink your coffee or your tea. Sit down and write 5 things you're grateful for. Meditate, focus on your breath. Don't open up social media for the first half an hour to hour of waking, and watch your life transform. It's pretty crazy, you know. And one thing I recommend to everyone is to cut out the news from your daily intake, especially the first half an hour to hour of waking. I'm not saying to never ever watch the news, because it's good to be informed on what's going on in the world. But just be very, very mindful of when you watch the news, you know. Just check in once a month just to see what's going on, once a week. But do it after your mind is primed, after you're feeling good, so you're not allowing that fear to overtake your body, to have that anxiety come back and, you know, have an anxiety attack. With these simple little things, I guarantee you that your mental health will start to become a lot better, because our mind is a garden, and our mind is a garden, and weeds will grow in our minds no matter what. You know, a weed will grow through anything. A weed does not need any attention to take care of it. And a weed is like bad thoughts, negative thoughts, you know, anxiety, all these things, self-doubt. A flower, on the other hand, needs to be taken care of every day. It needs to be watered. It needs to be talked to in a good way. You need to speak to your flower in a loving tone, a loving, caring tone. And when you do that to yourself, your mind starts to flourish. Your mind starts to become beautiful. Your mind starts to become a place where you're happy to be in it, where it brings you joy. So you need to understand that when we're feeding our flowers with positive things, with uplifting things, that we're going to flourish. We're going to flourish as human beings. You, me, everyone you know around you will start to flourish. So just understand that it's a process, right? And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Just like a flower. It takes time to grow that flower. You can't just put it in the ground, bury it, pour some water on it, and then the next day it grows. No. It takes time for that flower to blossom. And even after it pokes its little head out of the soil after being buried in the dark, it takes time for that to grow and flourish to become the thing it was meant to be, right? And that's how you are. It takes time for you to flourish and become who you are, who you're meant to be in this world, that light that you were born with, that gift. So with that, I'm going to jump off now. Sukini, thank you for watching. You know, take what you need from this and leave what you don't, because we're all warriors. We all have that warrior within us. Thank you for tuning in to Warrior Wednesdays. Dagas, or I should say, on Winnegit, Dagas, and remember, everything happens for the right reasons.